Well, welcome to Civil War Stories with Waffles. We got another episode coming up here for you, something that's really neat. It's not often that I get to piece together something for you with multiple historians with vast backgrounds in Civil War related material, but that's exactly what we have here for this episode. Now, over on my channel on YouTube, History with Waffles, we do live streams from time to time, and sometimes we actually have interviews in person, and we'll sit down with the people and talk to them and put together videos. Well, today, we're going to piece some of that stuff together for you so that you can hear the interviews that we have with those people. The intro of this video or podcast is going to come from Tim Smith, who's a historian at Adams County Historical Society. And he's going to talk a little bit about his career and the things that inspire him and how he became, really what his most important lesson is as a historian. And then after that, we have Garry Adelman on the channel. And Garry is the historian over at American Battlefield Trust. And he's kind of like the spokesman, really, for the entire thing. And he's going to talk to us a bit about what they have going on and some lessons that he's learned, and we have a few questions for him. And along with him, JD Huitt from History Underground. Now, if you're not familiar with the History Underground, the channel over on YouTube is one of the most successful history-related channels on YouTube. The last count that I checked, he had over 700,000 subscribers. He travels all over the place to create videos for people, including over in Europe. He's had a lot of World War II content lately, and he does dabble into the Civil War content as well because he's constantly in Gettysburg. Here recently, we talked to him back in January on a interview, and then we sat down and had a lunch with him in May when we went to the Ken Burns Film Festival in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So we have a real good treat for you today, and we hope you enjoy this podcast. And then stick around, like, subscribe, and go check out everything we have going on. Oh, and if you have suggestions, put that in comment blocks. We love seeing what people think about these things and what they would like to hear and see in the future.
I think that when I was younger and I read books about the Battle of Gettysburg, and I started to realize that some of the books were not as well written as other books, or some books had more misinformation in them than other books. I think that for me personally, being a historian, that the ability to read history and to read different accounts and pull these accounts together into a narrative and remain true to the facts of the story is one of the more important things that I learned. And how to evaluate sources written on the battle. There's massive amounts of conflicting information about the specific details of regimental movements on the battlefield. And we have the official reports of the battle. We have the accounts of the generals that were in the battle and the colonels in charge of all the regiments. But you have to understand that no one wrote in their official report, I made a horrible decision and thousands of men died because of it, or I was a coward and I ran. They're not going to say that. So by comparing events and finding new accounts that exist on the battle and pulling them into the story, and hopefully, I've tried to, I think throughout my career, I'm more of a researcher than a writer, and I've tried to pull together information and share it with a great amount of people so that they can have a better understanding of what happened in the Civil War. And, it does pain me to see people try to twist history to suit their own agenda, whatever that agenda may be. And, it's fascinating to read what the soldiers thought about these different events that occurred.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tim, I thank you very much for... Well, folks, we're going to kick this thing off here. Today we're going to have a very special guest on our YouTube channel, Garry Adelman or Adelman, and also JD from the History Underground is going to be here with us as well. I'm pretty excited to have him here. Garry, most people know him from American Battlefield Trust. That's one of the best organizations out there, especially if you're looking for an organization to donate to. That organization is responsible for a lot of the battlefields that we have right now that are preserved. It's a pretty neat thing to see when you see those signs up. So it's definitely excited to have him on here and to get this thing kicked off. Gotta invite him on here. Hello,
There I
Garry.
am.
All right. Hey,
Cool.
JD.
How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hey guys.
So this live streaming thing here is kind of new for me, so bear with me as we get through this thing. So Garry, you're the chief historian for American Battlefield Trust, right?
I am. And by the way, thanks everybody for joining.
Yes, indeed. I've read that you've either authored or co-authored 30 books and articles. That you're the VP for the Center of Civil War Photography, and a licensed battlefield guide for a long time up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So that's a pretty impressive resume you got going there. Tell me, how did you get started in all of this?
For a lot of people, I'm not sure if I know why, but I know exactly how, the exact moment. It was the last day of my sophomore year of high school. I was a D history student. I kind of always liked the past, but I wasn't a student of history at all. And then I picked up William Frazanito's Antietam, the photographic legacy of America's bloodiest day. And while in that moment, not a whole lot changed, but looking back on it, it was clear that that was the very moment that changed my whole life, precipitated my move east, and precipitated everything that brings me to y'all today.
That's amazing. Yeah, I know some of the work that you've done has definitely been inspiring to me and to others that are out there watching as well.
Thank you.
JD, you have a question for him?
Yeah. So, with the American Battlefield Trust, a lot of people may not know exactly like what you focus in on. You primarily, if you look at the channel, it's a lot of Civil War content. What is kind of like the primary mission or focus for the trust?
Yeah, thanks, JD. I mean, it's evening out, but we have primarily been a land preservation organization. That's why we were founded. We were founded to just do the Civil War, but about 10 years ago, we got into doing the Revolution as well, and War of 1812. So we preserve those battlefields as well. And along with that, ever since about 2011 or 12, the Trust has been investing in the second part of our mission: preserve, educate, and inspire. And the second and the third ones are really associated with using battlefield land to inspire people about American history, and of course, educate the public about what happened there and why it matters. So, those things have been rising. Most people still see us now, most of our members still see us as a land preservation organization, but increasingly we run into a lot more people through our educational efforts, such as podcasts, videos, our website, battlefield tours, than we really ever have with the preservation stuff. So we're running as fast as we can to save as much battlefield land from the critical, the most important battles. I mean, once in a while, we'll get something that somebody might consider marginal, but the U.S. government determined which battles are the most important. We work from that list, and we only save land where the soldiers actually fought. We don't do camps, hospitals, prisons, as important as they are, and cool, headquarters. Unless it's a battlefield, we don't get involved preservation-wise.
So
it makes a lot of sense.
With the YouTube channel, like what was kind of the origin of of like integrating the YouTube channel into the education and preservation, and like how has that impacted what the trust does?
Yeah, so let's see. So first of all, I get a lot of credit for a lot of what other people do. But
Mhm.
what I will say is the Trust really didn't have a video program in the early 2010s when I started full time. I had been a contractor before then. It was the Civil War Preservation Trust, which then became the Civil War Trust, which then became the American Battlefield Trust. But we really didn't have a video presence. Once in a while, we made videos here and there for press conferences and things. But as we started releasing apps, and as I came on as education director, that's how I started. I knew that people liked short, basic, compelling information. This is sort of was my brand before I even did it. Sure, I'd give all day tours and everything like that, but really summarizing things in a basic fashion has always been one of my strengths. And so we started making videos. Eventually, my department, as it grew, it was 2 of us when I started in 2010. Now it's 7 full timers plus interns and fellows and about 50 or 60 contractors. It's really grown, and that's thanks to our members who have and donors who support all of this growth. And as it started to grow, we had more people in-house that had talent with making videos. I subsumed it into my department, and then our chief YouTube guru, Andy Poulton, really started focusing on the YouTube channel around 2018, where we were way behind. We should have been great, but we had 10,000 followers at that point. And then it really started taking off until, to answer your last question, I mean, this is our primary way that we interact with the public. It's scary. Our president's cool with it, but I've become the face of the organization more than anybody else because of YouTube and our website. I'm not even on 2/3 of our videos, but I'm on a lot of them. And our most popular ones don't have people on them. I mean, it's usually just animated maps and other productions from Wide Awake Films. But it's been a game changer. And as you know, JD, and as you will know, Charlie, being on videos changes your life. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I think one of the reasons why your videos are so popular, and it has to do with not only the fact that it's a lot of information compacted into a small thing that's easily to digest, but it has a lot to do with your attitude. You said something in an email to me that really stood out. You said positivity is your being. Can you explain that to the viewers out there?
Yes, and I think it's a great message. Now, not everybody's built the same way, but for whatever reason, like I was from the earliest times, I've liked the positive rather than the negative. Like from my childhood, it always seemed unproductive to me to focus on it. And then when I started running restaurants, that's my past life in my teens and early 20s, you come to be intolerant of people complaining and bitching about things without an answer. Of course, like complaining is, it's great to solve problems, but just senseless bitching and moaning. So those two things really conflated to just make me this hyper positive person. And I'm like this in real life. This is not a video presence. Like everything is pretty good for me. And I tend to be content in a small room with very little, because,
for sure.
Everything's pretty cool. So that's kind of my brand that comes through on both my Facebook, Garry Adelman Civil War page, and in the trust stuff that I do. I'm enthusiastic about being alive and therefore about my obsessions, and of which history is my chief one. And somehow that, and coming from a family of storytellers, has resonated. It's not like somebody said, here's the path, you're going to be this way. I mean, it was slowly, checking and reading people, something most guides don't know how to do very well. Like what kind of an impact in real time am I having as a speaker or as a presenter or as a disseminator of information? Now on YouTube, they tell you exactly how they feel, which is both the best and worst thing about YouTube.
Of course.
But somehow paying attention to it, put me on this strange path to have me end up, where I am, where I JD, you probably experienced this and increasingly too, you, Charlie. I mean, where you do something that you're obsessed with or interested in, and then people thank you for it, which is very gratifying and a little strange.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Now, to talk about your authoring, I want to pitch something that I picked up that helped me out a lot recently. Manassas Battlefield, Then and Now. This book, I cannot thank you enough for this. I mean,
Awesome.
One of the things that I look for the most when I go out to a field to be able to maybe tell a story or to just picture it myself in my head. It's hard to visualize when you go to towns and cities and you have a Pizza Hut and a Domino's and all this other stuff that's taken the place of these towns and these battlefields. But this book, going through those photographs and being able to see the side-by-side layer of what it looked like before and what it is now, you can almost visualize the scenes and bring in that battle. How do you go about the process when you're looking at photographs, historic photographs, and how are you able to make this happen?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you. I'm so glad it's helpful. I'm really proud of that little book. And most of my books are little books. Uh, you know, this is my entry point. For some reason, the moment my whole life changed was the first time I ever saw, and it was that last day of my high school sophomore year,
Yeah.
when I saw a then and now photo. This was something that was somehow within me before then. When a building was going to come down in my area, I would take my little 110 camera, take a picture of it with the full intent of taking the picture when the new building was going up. For whatever reason, I wanted to go back to the places where pictures of me and my family were taken years later to see. I want to see how it's different. So for whatever reason, I was a then and now guy almost from birth. I don't know. Time passing over a place has always been one of the most fascinating things to me. So,
Right.
so that was within me, and it was natural that when I moved to Gettysburg, that I happened to meet Tim Smith. And most people are terrible at then and now. It's just not their thing. Some people are spatially oriented, some people are creative, some are good at math, and some are good at engineering and things like that. There are some of these things are innate. Most people are just terrible at then and now for whatever reason. The mystery to solve from a photo, and focusing on a few things. One, what's the most obvious place this was taken? Two, what things stand out in the photos that you can confirm it? And three, if you have a theory, to try to talk yourself out of it rather than into it, which is another pitfall most people fall into. So I'll say that, that has been just one, that and exploring photographs have been some of my main niches over the time. And I want to say that I think you have an old bio. I think I've written 70 books and articles now, of which about 22 as of 2 days ago are actually books. This is Battlefields in Focus. Sorry about the ring there, but it's better with the light. So this is a trust production that you can only get right now by donating $50 or more to our current appeal. And there is some then and now stuff in here. It's mostly old photos and new photos, but not necessarily paired together. The cover is a then and now. That's the real farm there. So I think what I do in these books is once you have a then and now pair, what can you learn from that? How has time changed? What's still there? What was the process of discovery? I find this very interesting. And then, of course, to talk about what that means. And usually in the short captions I write with things, I'm trying to point things out and, hopefully convince people why it's important or one of the reasons it's important. That's sort of my approach, but it is my greatest thing. I do it when I'm off. I was doing it this morning. I was doing it last night. I am constantly trying to solve Civil War photo mysteries, and a lot of that includes examining the details within them.
It's very cool. JD, now I know that you and Garry have come together on some things before, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You got an interesting story or something you'd like to talk about with between you and Garry?
Well, one thing that Garry mentioned earlier is that what you see is, on camera and on YouTube is 100% reflective of what you get in real life when you meet him. Garry and I have collaborated on several different videos, and we have this joke that for some reason every video that we would collaborate on had some sort of curse over it. So if you had trust videos and they're just knocking them out of the park and they're doing Gettysburg stuff like that, and I appear, like the viewership on that video would just tank.
Totally.
and then vice versa. And I had one video. We were talking about then and now stuff. We were at Antietam, and Garry just delivers this amazing presentation, showing where all of these different photos were taken and showing what it looks like now and things like that. That was the best performing video in the first week. It was the best performing video I'd ever had on the channel. I mean, just skyrocketed. And then YouTube hit it with an age restriction, and it like the growth curve goes up, up, up. And I'm not kidding. Yeah. As soon as it hit that age restriction, it plateaued and hasn't grown since. Yep. I mean, it has literally stayed at almost the same thing. We had this joke running joke for a while that our stuff we were like each other's curse. But recently, I can't remember what the last video you appeared on my channel, but it did really well.
Yeah. The curse appears to be at least breakable, if not broken.
That's good. That's good. Well, I have some questions here from some of the viewers for the past month or two. They've been pretty excited about the idea of you being on here. One person you probably know from Vlogging Through History, he wrote to me and he said, "What is your favorite obscure photograph from the Civil War?"
Oh my God. So first of all, I think I've heard of Vlogging Through History. JD, you've heard of them, right? I think there's something in my head that reminds me that I think I remember it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
He's a up and comer. I think he shows a lot of promise.
Yeah. I think that he's a good kid. No, excellent. I hope you're watching, Chris. I'm a big fan. So superlatives are tough for me, because it literally changes day to day or week to week which my favorite photos are, and why they're my favorite. Did I pick out some new detail? Did it help me lead to a discovery or something like that? And the next book I'm working on, hopefully, I really shouldn't talk about it, but it involves delving into these photos. And I'm really excited about the process that's going on. It's like supplanting every day. But having said that, the Massaponax Church photos, and specifically the one where Grant gets up and is speaking to General Meade and looking over his shoulders. It's called The Council of War. That series, it's 3 photos of that scene and 1 from farther away, always stands out among my favorite. I think just about the prettiest photo of the Civil War is a nondescript photo of snow on the ground at a fort with a flag, Fort Richardson, which just really stands out like that. And I can't, now that I've shared it on my page, maybe I'll put some of the, and I wasn't looking away, I'm just trying to share things. Maybe I'll put some of these links into the comments. But, those 2 constantly stand out. There are some Gettysburg photos, that I just adore. I love the 3 Confederate prisoners. I love a lot of the Devil's Den photos. I love the photo toward the field of Pickett's Charge from Little Round Top, for all the details and things you can pick out that way. So I go back and forth. Sometimes I like people more. Sometimes I like rocks because you can line them up. And, sometimes I like, the most disturbing photos of all. Like, I look at these terrible photos of human carnage, and I think they really hit the public hard because of what they have. And to me, you can leverage them to learn more about the past and understand them better, and sometimes narrow it down. Hey, this corpse is one of 80 people, 40 people, 20 people. And sometimes that's the best we can do. But I think we have to, while also learning about their uniforms and learning about the battle itself, depending on where it was photographed. So sorry, Chris, I'm all over the map, and I'm always terrible at this question.
Yeah, well, and I had another question that was given to me by Stu from Twitter. And I'm paraphrasing the question, of course, but he said, which battlefield do you think the Trust has had the most impact on when it comes to saving a battlefield?
Ooh, maybe I'm going to suspect that might be Stu Zellman, and I'm going to go ahead and put on a Trust hat so I can match Charlie there. I'm not going to be able to mention one, but a few come to mind right away. Brandy Station has gone from 0 to a couple of thousand acres. That's, and I'm including some of the other area called Pepper Battlefield, Cedar Mountain, and maybe Rappahannock Station and some of those. But, when you go from 0 to a couple thousand, which is now in the process of becoming a state park, huge. Okay. Glendale and Malvern Hills, something like 1,500 acres that we've added to the 42 that had been preserved for, 100 years earlier, is an incredible success story. Perryville, Kentucky, that went from something like 300 acres to 1,200 acres, where you literally have the whole main battle with a couple of tracks as exceptions, absolutely preserved. Now increasingly Gaines's Mill in Cold Harbor, where we've been doing a lot of work. So in other words, a lot of peninsula campaign, in 7 days. I think there's a reason why the Richmond battlefields aren't popular like Fredericksburg, Antietam, and Gettysburg. And most of it is because there's not a critical mass of land. There's not enough for people to see, and they're spread out. So you have some challenges somehow, but the Fredericksburg ones are spread out too. And people do it because when they go to these parks, you're met with hundreds rather than dozens of acres. So I guess those are the ones that come to mind. to anybody else who's thinking about the work we've done at Franklin, which is our only reclamation project where we have great local people helping us. And these are the ones that stand out, but just thinking a lot, I'm looking at the work we've done at Resaca now and the tiny gains we've made at other Atlanta campaign sites. And of course, the nearly more than 1,000 acres we've saved in the Gettysburg campaign, which is of course near and dear to me. And then particular tracts like the 44 acres right in the middle of Antietam and 7 different tracts around the Dunker Church. So it's really broad. And happily that keeps changing too, because we keep getting, we thought, I think 15 years ago, we would talk about when are we going to run out of land? When will we be just an education organization because all the land will be gone? Not only because of our entry into the revolution, that was just a silly concept because there is simply so much, viable, real deal, blood-soaked battlefield land to preserve. So happily it keeps changing.
Absolutely. Now, JD, you had a particularly interesting question yourself, but you happen to remember that question you posted on there?
No, I don't.
Okay. JD wrote, outside of Gettysburg, what battlefield do you find yourself most drawn to and why?
Yeah. Now this one is one I get, and I don't have to equivocate. Obviously, Gettysburg is my place, and Antietam is number 2. Now you could say he lives close to those. This is why. I live close to Gettysburg, Antietam, and Manassas on the rail line to Washington, where the trust is. Like I'm very strategically placed. This wasn't an accident. And Antietam, as my initial entry, to me, the perfect battlefield is not only a place that speaks to you, that not only has a whole lot of land, but for me, you need the stories and you need an interesting battle. Some are simply more interesting to me, at least, than others. And then if you have the photos and you have some icons, in Antietam's case, the Hagerstown Pike, the cornfield, the Burnside Bridge, the sunken road. It's got all these incredibly iconic Civil War places intersecting with incredible stories, incredible photos, and an actual meaningful outcome. Show me like the breakthrough at Petersburg that results directly in the fall of the Confederate capital, or Antietam that results directly into forecasting the Emancipation Proclamation. So I always go Gettysburg, Antietam, and Manassas, but at that Manassas level is Perryville, is the Franklin area battlefields, is, certainly Cold Harbor, which I just love, and for anybody watching, I don't think that most people that watch channels like this think, that it's strange that I would say I love that battlefield. I just encourage anybody to engage with their historic site, in this case, battlefields, in the way that's most appropriate to them. For some people, seeing the blood and gore or seeing the seemingly senselessness of a lot of battles is just too much for them, and that's okay. There are others like me. The first time I went to Devil's Den and saw the dead sharpshooter position, there was no question what I was going to do. I was going to set up my camera and lay down in the sight. That's not for everybody. And I've done it scores or hundreds of times because people ask me to now. And I don't have a problem with that exactly, but some people would, and that's okay. So veterans were irreverent about battles and battlefields, or became that way. They were dead serious sometimes, and sometimes they were irreverent and had fun and used the battlefield as a bathroom and things like that. So, I've always vacillated, much like Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks, between the serious and the lighthearted. And I do that in life, and I do it with battlefields. I think it's appropriate.
And I think what really brings us all to focus is the actual stories. We all, the passion that we bring to this is coming from the stories of the common soldier. The same thing that Peter Carmichael used to talk about, the common soldier. JD, you tell a lot of stories on your channel, and it doesn't just range from the American Civil War. We're talking World War II. You hit a lot of different stories. Where is it that you get that passion from?
Do you mean like passion for history, or
all of it? History, storytelling, bringing it all together.
Yeah, kind of similar to Garry. I kind of come from a family of storytellers. Like my earliest memories are just being at my grandpa's house with my brother and asking him questions about his time in the Korean War and growing up during the Depression, and kind of like with Garry talking about like the then and now things. My grandpa would drive around. We had cattle, so we had farms, that were rented for pasture in different places. and we would drive around these old back roads. My grandpa would say, "Hey, right out there," he said, "that there used to be an old tavern here." And he would take me out, to state forests, and we would go hiking in the woods, turkey hunting, and go to an old cemetery. And he would, map out all of these things. Like, okay, so this is where the road was, and there used to be this, and that was nothing but trees now. So I think that played a huge role in kind of sparking my passion for history. This is going to sound weird, but as far as World War II, Raiders of the Lost Ark was another movie that really that if I think back, kind of was a big spark for me in getting into the Second World War. And then the more you learn about history, the more you learn about human nature. So it always fascinates me to look at stories and people of the past and using that to help understand the present.
Can I jump in on that? Because yes, I mean, to me, I think I was a 12-year-old when I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here's this watch. It's worthless. I bought it from a street vendor for $10, but buried in the sand for 10,000 years, and it's priceless.
Yes.
That, and like if you've seen the movie Frequency with Jim Caviezel and Dennis Quaid, where he needs to get a piece of evidence forward, he simply hides it like in a hidden cabinet in the house. And to it, 40 years, 30 years passes, but the people, to the people then and now, it was instantaneous. Yeah. And this idea of us, people, all three of us probably are trying to time travel to the degree possible. I feel that being on site with a 3D photo and seeing it 3D, there's something going on there that's more than cool. It's 4-dimensional. It's an element of time travel, maybe as close as we'll ever get. And movies, are a great spark for things like that, because I think that creating the spark, however we all got our sparks, whether it be a movie or not, is so much harder than undoing any historical problems that come from documentaries or movies or books or anything like that. Just create the spark, and then magical things can happen.
Absolutely. That's 100% it, for sure. And being out there in those fields, and I've seen videos of yourself, for example, putting your bare feet in the waters in Manassas, laying down in those positions like you were talking about. One of the most common questions that I've had over the course of this, before I planned all of this out, was, where does he get the energy from? Yeah, that was the most common question. Everybody wanted to know, how in the world does Garry Adelman wake up with that pizzazz and energy that he has that they see on those videos every day?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, first of all, when I was like in college, I wasn't taking great care of myself, so I sniffled a lot. I was sick, and I'm certain people always thought I was on cocaine or something like that. And I did drink caffeine until I was 19. And I haven't really since, with one exception, when I did it for a year and regretted it again. So I drink decaf. It's just, for some reason, that kid in middle school, or even worse, like elementary school, who just can't sit still. And all my report cards reflect this. That was me. So I've always, almost always liked being alive. I like being awake. And for whatever reason, I'm endowed with this crazy metabolism and energy. And, I say it jokingly a lot, but I sort of mean it. I don't know how all the rest of y'all get along. But I mean, to me, I think I'm much more energetic on video and things like that, because I happen to be talking about my obsession. And while I have, a handful of obsessions, I already mentioned one of them, Twin Peaks, Pink Floyd, Star Wars, a few other things like that. The Civil Wars, the Civil War and photography are my biggest ones. So I'm often this energetic dude, and then I'm talking about my favorite thing, and people tell me they want to hear more of it. It's even happening now. It just jazzes me up even more, like beyond my normal energy. And I do sit on the couch and chill and watch TV and things like that. I mean, it does happen, but my wife complains because that leg's always moving and kicking the couch and everything. So there's a back end to the good side that everybody sees. But I'm just so thankful, really grateful that I just can't believe that I find myself where I am. To the point where, it happens every day now. Somebody said, I just booked my tickets to Vicksburg as a result of watching this video. And it was a 70-second video I shot while we were there. Super gratifying, and that's how I feel. Like it's, and I'm sure JD, you feel the tug of this when enough people say enough great things about you. It would be easy to not be grounded about it. And a lot of people misunderstand me because I'm an everything is awesome kind of guy, but I've never been driven by the ego part of it. And I've always been driven by, I'm alive right now. I'm reaching people, and I'm so grateful that this is happening. That's what I'm driven by. The minor celebrity that, we can experience, is, a little bit nonsensical because we were the same people 4 years ago before that many people recognized us. So, I don't know, I'm drifting off into a different spot, but I'm just so grateful, to find, all of us in this position and in this world with the technology that allow us to do this.
Absolutely. Well, I for one can definitely appreciate that for sure. And I'm sure the rest of the viewers out there appreciate that approach towards things too. And it looks like we're coming up on time here. And I really appreciate you, Garry, showing up here and being a part of this, and JD, you as well. And since we're wrapping up here at the end, I just want to give the both of you an opportunity to, maybe pitch your next video or whatever you have going on.
JD, why don't you go first?
Yeah. So right now on my channel, I'm in the middle of a big series on the Guadalcanal campaign. Had a chance to go to Guadalcanal this past fall and spend some time walking the battlefield there. One of the things that I thought about, and I've mentioned in a few of the videos or social media posts, if you go to Guadalcanal, there's a lot of that battlefield that has been lost. Some of it just in the past few years. There's one video I did, a place called Alligator Creek, and just in the past 5 years, there was a Chinese company that came in, bought up a place that was critical to the battlefield called the Coconut Grove, bulldozed it and put up a concrete plant, just ruined the battlefield. So while I was there, it made me even more grateful than what I already am that we have an American Battlefield Trust that is going out and doing the work to preserve battlefields and stuff. Yeah, 100. There we go. I like that hoodie. I need that.
Oh, dude, yes. These are hard to find. We can talk offline, man. Well, I would say the same. The first thing I would do is encourage any of your viewers or anybody watching to, check out the Trust a little bit more. A lot of people check out our YouTube, but they don't subscribe to our emails. No commitment to that. But when you subscribe to our emails, yes, we're going to hit you every 3 or 4 weeks with a new land opportunity, and we're going to make it really compelling. And sometimes you don't want to open them because you're going to feel like you want to donate again. We're good at that, and our land team is very good about assembling deals that are hard to resist. But if you sign up for our emails, you get to find out about what free and paid tours we're offering, and we're about to release in the coming weeks. We'll tell you about the slate of what we have at Gettysburg, Fredericksburg, Antietam, Manassas, and then maybe in North Carolina. These are adult tours, kid tours called Generations events, and other things like that. The Trust also has regular events. We, at least this year, have an annual conference. I think registration's already open in Boston in early May. We have, for our higher level people, like the hat that we are wearing, the color bearers, we have a thank you weekend. It's in Mobile in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be in Richmond for the higher level color bearers in the fall. We have a teacher institute for you teachers out there. We will be in Gettysburg this year, tours, workshops, and things like that. And, and that's really it. The last thing I want to pitch is not a Trust thing, but the Trust is a co-sponsor of it, and as the Image of War seminar. This is where my biggest geek out of the year. I've been running it, with the exception of COVID, this will be the 25th year for the Image of War seminar. It's in Fredericksburg area this coming October 3 to 5 off the top of my head. Registration hasn't opened yet, but you could save the date. And this is where we follow in the footsteps of the photographers. Usually have a wet plate photographer there. We see him in 2D, 3D, 4D, big boards, little boards, indoor presentations. So this one I've poured my heart and soul into since 2001. And I promise you a good experience if you're interested in coming to that, if photos are your thing.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate it. And gentlemen, I appreciate the both of you showing up and being on here and talking to these folks and telling them all the good things that are coming up for them to check out. For everybody that's out there, thanks a lot for showing up and watching the show. And I love the hat, Garry. Thanks a lot for showing up and being a part of this ride with us. Without people watching the videos and having the same type of passion that we have, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing with our channels, and we certainly wouldn't have anybody to share it with. So we really appreciate every one of you. So
Thanks so much for having me. Great to see you guys. Thanks, everybody.
thanks a lot. See you around.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
And there you have it. Another great episode here with Civil War Stories with Waffles. We'd like to thank our special guests, Tim Smith, Garry Adelman, and JD Huitt, for showing up on the channel and talking to all of us about their experiences and just kind of overall what it's like for them, and really enriching the conversation when it comes to the American Civil War and the preservation part of it. Garry Adelman, to me, has been one of the biggest inspirations for me personally when it comes to the American Civil War. I've watched him even as a kid coming up. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear that. Tim Smith also, big inspiration for me. Very selfless man when it comes to the American Civil War history. He's been at it a long time, and he, for sure, after listening to his story, is living proof that anybody and everybody that has a passion that drives them in this stuff can get into this, and if they work hard enough, they can be successful at teaching the American Civil War to all walks of life. So I definitely thank the both of them for being an inspiration to me and being one of the reasons why I created this channel to talk to you about the American Civil War, and for JD Huitt. If it wasn't for JD and the History Underground, my channel over on YouTube wouldn't even have happened. I came to a crossroads in my life where I was taking a vacation, and I was about to retire from one gig and move into another. And after speaking with JD for a while, I got inspired to create that channel to try to share the story of the Civil War. And mostly because I needed a new hobby. So I really appreciate everything that these guys have done and what they've contributed to the story when it comes to history in general. We appreciate you here on this channel, this podcast, and History with Waffles on YouTube for coming in and checking out the story, listening to us, and giving us your time. Until next time, this is Civil War Stories with Waffles. And again, go check us out on YouTube, History with Waffles. Subscribe, like, and put your comments in there. I read every single one of them, and I reply to pretty much all of them. And we make adjustments based on what you tell us. So until next time, we'll see you around.